Hello, friends. It's Nicole Scott here from Gorgeous Gray Movement, and I got a special guest with us today, all the way from California, Allie. Hello, Allie.
Hi.
Allie Goes Gray is her Instagram handle, and if you haven't been following her, you need to follow her. She is my entertainment. She's getting really good at reels. I'm learning from her. I do a few here and there. She's a mama bear. She's a mama bear to two boys. She's a school teacher. She's in California. She also told me that she's an animal lover and that the animals are running the show. Anyways, I'm just so happy that we've been trying to get a hold of each other with the right time with our schedules to get on and just share her story. So why I chose Ellie, couple things. She's 33 and she embraced, 33. And that was about the time that I was thinking about it. I'm now 50. I went at 47. It took me from age 33, Allie's age, all the way to 47 to finally like pull the plug. So I just complimented her before we jumped on. I just said, thank you, my friend. Thank you for being brave and giving a voice to the women in their 30s that don't think they can take this on, because it's a pretty big deal. So I can't wait for us to get this story out to the world. So Allie, thanks for being here. And let's dive right in. First question, why at 30-ish that you decided to go gray? Because society says that's too young.
Right. I mean, that's such a great question. And I love that you don't know my answer, first of all. I think that that's really cool. So here you go. So I started going gray, spotting grays at 17. And my mom also had been going gray, and it just immediately we jumped right into highlighting and box dyes, because I just thought this can't happen. Like, I'm getting ready for senior prom. I'm not going to senior prom with gray hair, right? So I did that and did it forever. In college, through college, I would box dye my hair, and I was a swimmer. So I was in the chlorine every day. So I was just destroying my hair in all senses, right? And it became something that I was embarrassed by, but I've always tried to cover things with a sense of humor. So instead of allowing people to say anything, I was always the first one to point them out. I was always the first one to joke about my gray hair. And like these self-deprecating comments that started to ingrain themselves into my being. And through my wedding, I remember every important event leading up to anything, it's always dye right before. Dye it enough that you're not gonna get the like stain around your hair, but enough that there's no grays there. And I did the highlights and I did the box dyes. And when I married my husband, who I've known for so long, he'd been telling me, just stop dyeing it. You would look so beautiful with gray hair. Just stop dyeing it. And I just couldn't. I thought he was kidding. Honestly, I thought he was joking, because whose husband says that, right? And then I met a friend who's one of my silver sisters now. Her name is Tessa, and we met at the dog park, and she was just finishing up her grow out, and she's this gorgeous woman. She's in her 40s, and I left the dog park that day being like, wow, like she did that, and look at her, and she did the whole grow out. I can do it. That's not when I did it though. I didn't actually. I just started thinking about it. And then I had my first son in 2017. And to be honest, I loved my baby, and I threw everything into being a mom. My marriage was falling apart. Some terrible things were happening between us, and it wasn't going anywhere we wanted it to go. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't successful. My mindset on life wasn't healthy and successful. I just was putting everything into being a mom. And as I got to the end, my birthday's in December. So I usually do a lot of reflecting. And I think it's partially because we're going into a new year, but also it's my birthday. And I just kind of like didn't like the life I was living. It all appeared so beautiful on the internet. I had this happy Instagram, and we bought a house in this town, and it was all yay. And a switch flipped for me, and I gave up social media, which is so funny to say because now I'm like a social media. But I completely gave up social media for 2 years. And that was a huge part of why I'm doing what I'm doing now. because giving it up gave me the freedom to really explore so many things. I never felt like people were checking in on me. There was no shame or embarrassment about any of my choices. And after reading some books and doing a lot of just like soul searching without the distraction, I really knew I wanted to, but I still didn't do it because I wasn't ready. And I finally went to a hairstylist in 2018 and asked, I said, I really want to go gray. I really want to go gray. And she was a lovely woman. And she did the whole thing with my hair where she looked through it and she said, you don't have enough gray hair. I was like, really? Are you sure? And then I had my husband come in and I was like, I'm staying strong. I'm going to do this. And instead, I got $400 worth of highlights because I wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't ready. And then suddenly that summer in 2018, I had an appointment for a hair to get more highlights and I just never showed up. It was so simple. It was so silly. Like I just didn't go. There was no big thing. And then it had been a few weeks and it had been 8 weeks and then it had been, and then you go and you build this confidence and strength in yourself. It's a really long way to say that is the path. It was not a straightforward thing. It never is.
Right. And don't you find it's almost like the analogy of life, right? The whole, making that decision, being brave, being courageous. This isn't the right time. Maybe it is the right time. Questioning, reflecting, finding the courage, being brave, fighting with your inner critic, having a conversation with your superhero, and then battling it out. Like it just is.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And I love what you said about that, because I have heard women where they're just like, you make a decision and you do it. But for a lot of us, it isn't that easy. And I had a very similar, transition of like, yes, no, yes, no, like since from age 33, because about your age, that's when I went back to holistic nutrition school. I had worked in the corporate industry selling processed food. And then my first baby, by the time she was 9 months old, she had 75 food allergies and sensitivities, and she had this compromised immune system. And so I decided to go back to school. And in school, that's when I learned about the dangers of dye, that there were ingredients within it that is carcinogens, right? Cancer causing. And I heard it, but I didn't hear it. I was like, I'll be fine. I'm young, right? I'll be fine. Yeah. I'll eat healthy. I'll eat more greens. I'll make sure I move my body. Wasn't ready. So it's like I posted when I was writing my book about if there was a study that linked hair dye to cancer, would you stop? And I had like over 200 and some women. And I highlighted some of it in my book, but it was shocking the number of women that said, no, too vain. I take the risk. Russian roulette all the way. And I just go, wow, okay. But I guess that was me too back in my 30s, right? Wasn't ready. Right. So your transition, you talked a little bit about it. You just ended up deciding no more. And so, and you didn't do the shave, because some people are like, oh, should I shave my head? Should I do pixies? So did you get it cut a bit shorter? Like what was kind of that? So you kind of let it come in naturally. There was anything else to that transition?
So I let it come in. There was a couple of times I tried purple shampoo. By that point, I was so highlighted that it wasn't my dark hair underneath. It wasn't that. It was very orange or very yellow brassy. And so when I tried a couple purple shampoos, and eventually I don't want to say stopped caring, but I let go. I was so much behind the camera because I was always taking photos of my children, and I was just always watching them and living through what they were experiencing. I never fretted. I wasn't really fretting about what I looked like. But I also will say there were not many important events going on. At that point, there was nothing for me. It was that lull between when everyone gets married and everyone starts having kids. And I was just there was nothing I really dressed up for, got fancy for. So I didn't have, I had moments during like date night getting ready where I was like, oh, are people going to notice this? What are people going to think? Mm-hmm. But I really just let the grow out happen. And I did get a lot of cuts. I would cut it as often as I could, but never past my chin. I had done a pixie cut after I got married. I chopped off all my hair the day after my wedding, like went back to the hair salon. They took the bobby pins out. So I wasn't doing that again. So I wasn't doing that. So I did the grow out. I did a couple of those wash in, like fun shampoo kind of things, and I joked about how I clearly didn't like the way they looked because I have no photos of them. Like I didn't document a single bit of that. And I will say, not being on social media, there's such a beautiful piece to this Silver Sister community. And we can talk more about that. I would love to talk more about that. There was also something so beautiful about not being on social media at all, like not having any part of me be there, because there was just no reason really to take pictures. So I don't have a lot of documentation of my grow out, just a handful. But for me, the growing and the cutting and just kind of embracing it was the path I took. And I, like you said, there's so many ways. And when women message me on Instagram, I am so open that there's no wrong way to do this at all. That just happens to be the way
I love the look that you have. Like, it's so inspiring because it's like no hairdresser. Oh, there's your kitty. There's one, right? Just one kitty. Who's that? What's the name?
This one's Hannah.
Hannah. Awesome. Yeah. So cuddly.
She's a twin. They're silverish sisters.
Love it. So no hairdresser could duplicate your hair, your look. It's like you're an original. How does that feel?
Yes, they're snowflakes. I'm sure someone has made that analogy before, but all Silver Sisters are snowflakes. Yeah. And when anyone messages about like, oh, I really hope my hair looks like yours, the response is obviously it's going to look like yours. You know, like your hair is going to look like your hair. Just like I tell my first graders when we do a drawing and we're all drawing the same thing, it's going to look like yours.
Right. Oh my gosh, you just hit something to my heart, because I was just the other night on a book club. My sister has had a book club since 2005, and they just read my book. And so it was the first time that I was part of a book club of all these women that read the book. And out of all the women that read the book, there was only one that was transitioning to her natural color, but everybody else was still dark. So there was like questions about, you know, what was your biggest aha moment? And there was a few others, but the closing was, now that you've read the book, are you ready to go gray? And if not, why? Right. Mm-hmm. And it was just so neat to hear all of the different responses. And one of the feedback was, Nicole, if my hair looks like you, I would go. And I was like, my response to them was like, none of us know what it's going to look like. It's the unknown that we go into. And I go, isn't that ironic? Because that's life. And I was just said, like, don't you realize that magic happens outside your comfort zone? And how about if you like it? And if you don't like it, you can always go back. Because see how I'm dark at the bottom? You know how the ombre happens usually like here and then here, but I'm the opposite. I have like ombre where half of my head is this like white, like my mom. And then I'm so dark at the back, right?
Yes. I'm really dark in the back too, actually. I'm not like, when you look underneath, I'm pretty gray, but on the top, I'm really stripy, like here.
Yeah, I see that, but I love it because it looks like these beautiful highlights, like so beautiful.
It's the best compliment you can get when people say like, oh my gosh, how much did you pay for your highlights? And you're like, they were free.
I love that. Well, let's dive in a bit and talk a little bit more about the Silver Sister community. Let's talk about that. You are part of it. I see that you're growing your Instagram really fast. People are gravitating to your message. What does it feel like to be part of this community, and what have you gotten from it so far?
Oh my gosh. So I have to start by saying I post about this a lot. I was a hashtag searcher. So I would get on, and even when I didn't have Instagram, even on Pinterest or whatever it would be, I would search for gray hair inspiration photos just to see things. And even when I got back on Instagram, I didn't have this account. I was just my personal account, and I would still search the hashtags, and I would search Silver Sisters, and I would search all these things. And I would see these beautiful, confident women, not fully grown out, like in transition of their hair. And initially I thought, well, like, I'll be confident when it's all grown out. Like when it's all gone and everything's cut off and I'm totally, my new self. That's such baloney because you're always growing and you're always changing. But I eventually, it was like December, I was coming up on winter break as an elementary school teacher during a pandemic. And I was like, I don't have enough joy right now. Like I love my family. I love, I'm pretty good at finding balance in that respect. But I was like, so many people over the past 3 years in real life have stopped me and talked to me about hair. And some of my dear friends have stopped dyeing their hair because of it. I was like, what am I doing? Like, why isn't this message bigger? Right. And then I had a call with someone who has something similar. She promotes gray hair, celebrating gray hair. And she was looking for models, but I was too young. She would only have models 50 and over, which is great. She's trying to like expand a pool there. And I think it's beautiful. But the thing that hours later after the call, I was like, there's something wrong with that because our habits, not wrong with her, but wrong with that concept for me, because the habits we form are formed when we're younger. Like we're not forming habits at 50, new ones maybe, but a lot of what we do happens when we're young. And if you don't reach people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, then they're going to start the habits, and habits are harder to break. My 3-year-old can not tell you that, but I can tell you that about him. So I just went on a drive home from work one day. I was like, Allie grows gray. I just like said it. I got home. I told my husband, I was like, I'm making this Instagram account. It's happening. I'm doing it. And it just like, I started immediately following all of these Silver sisters, and just a handful of them. This one very sweet woman, Amber, immediately took me under her wing. I adore her. Another one, Kathleen. Like I started to have real conversations with other people. And especially during these times where social connection is so strange in so many ways, it was so beautiful. And I just felt like I came home. And I'm sure a lot of people have that analogy for you, but I really just felt like, oh my gosh, these people get me. They know what I've been through or what I'm going through, and they're positive about it. And there it is. And it just really just took off. And the amount of conversations I have had over the past 3 months have been extraordinary. Everything from women who are fully, transitioned, done their grow out, to 20-year-olds who I call silver unicorns, who have never dyed their hair and have silver. And they're like, I'm just never dyeing it. Like, wow, that's huge. So the community is just so beautiful. It might honestly be the happiest, most kind, open place on the internet, apart from the creepy trolls that try to come in. It really is the most positive place.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So there you go, women. If you are looking for, if you're sitting on the fence and you're looking for a community and a tribe, this is definitely a very uplifting. We've all gone through it. So we will raise you. We will lift you up. We will cheer you on. We will accept you for whatever you choose. There's no judgment. There's just love, and lots of love. So, I saw this week on social media, you were talking about the men that say, you're too young to go on spa."
Oh
Let's
my
talk about
gosh.
that and then we'll close off.
Yeah.
I could interview you for an hour because this is just awesome conversation. I want a tea with you when I come down to California next. But let's talk a little bit about that. So she's been talking on Instagram about the men that say, don't go gray, you're too young. What message do you have for the women that take those comments to heart and set them back a little bit?
It's just people, I think they're speaking from their own insecurities. It's not when someone, I know there's that famous quote, when someone says something about you, it says so much more about them than it does about you. And if you love your hair and you love what you're doing, that's the most beautiful thing. I mean, when we have conversations, a lot of women actually message me and they say, I'm about to see family. What do I do? So forget these creepy men on the internet, because we can go to bed at night and say, like, who are these people? Are they even real? But the women who message me and ask, I'm going to go to, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner. What do I do? the way you go into those conversations is so important. I remember in college when I would see people looking at my hair or think people were looking at my hair, I would have to jump in with like, oh my God, I know my hair, it's gray, too young. When you go in like, yeah, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing and I love it and I feel great about myself. And there's thousands of women, hundreds of thousands, I think, doing this, even if they're not on social media. And it's awesome. And also people are dyeing their hair pink and purple and who cares? Like it's hair. At the end of the day, it's hair. It's not just about hair. But in the same way, we talk about wanting to wear what we want to wear and, do the things we want to do. It's our hair. And you just lean on the people that support you.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
I love that. And just be you, right?
Yeah.
One life, just be you, have fun, bring joy to the world. And it's okay to be different. It's okay to get outside of the box, right? This is outside of the box. Women have chosen to be outside of the box dye box, but the box of society, right? The box to say we need to fit in here. I document the journey and the history in my book about where it started to show up for women, about when we had to start dyeing it because we were conditioned that we had to do it to fit in and to have our neighbors over and to be accepted. It was crazy. I started to research some of the commercials that women had to be exposed to, and you're like, wow, like in today's society, when you look at that, you just go, oh, you feel bad. Like you feel bad that women, it's almost like had no choice but to show up a certain way. It was just what you did. And I'm so grateful that in this generation that we have so much more choice, and we're not conforming to the box. And this is just one element of not conforming. So yay. As we close off, one last message to women that are sitting on the fence. What would you say? What would be your last message? They're sitting on the fence. They've been watching you and a Silver Sister, and they're like, I want to, but.
I think the biggest message is just try it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You just try it. You just try it.
I love it. There you go, ladies. Just try it. Join our community. A lot of fun. Follow Allie. Allie Goes Gray. Thank you so much, Allie, for tuning in today and taking some time out of your busy schedule with your home renovations and your animals and your husband and all of that stuff and kiddos napping. She's sneaking it in, ladies, just for you guys.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And if you guys want more interviews, you can tune into the YouTube channel, Gorgeous Gray Movement, and see the history of all of our Silver Sisters and Gorgeous Gray that have done these interviews and are sharing the message to the world. So thank you so much. Bye for now.